Welcome to Mic'd and Medicated. And we are very excited today because we have a very special guest on the couch with us. Do you want to introduce her, Caroline?
Sure. So Lauren Tetenbaum, who I've known, growing up. I know your sister, and we met actually in one of the phases of life after having our first babies. So now we're obviously talking about a different topic. Lauren is an author, a lawyer, a psychologist, social worker, same thing. I mean, you're helping people.
Yes.
And the author of Millennial Menopause.
Right.
And I just want everybody to know that I am full out in millennial gear for this because I wanted to channel my youth. And as I was putting on my nomination bracelets, I polished all my Tiffany bracelets, did my 2 clips. I did find my first gray hair. So how apropos for this session. I was like, no.
Well, we have a lot of interesting connections and reasons to have you today. And I think it was sort of fate because I had been reading my email and this beautiful essay came through as part of the On Being Jewish Now anthology collection. And I just loved what you wrote. And so I forwarded it to Caroline and I said, we have to get Lauren on our podcast, having no idea who you were or what you did for a living. And Caroline ignored me, which is not usual, but I guess we were just emailing so much.
We go
she forgot
these phases of text. Like, so we're different times or when we're productive. I'm morning person. You tend to be night. So we'll go through we'll have 20 texts and then one of us will respond. So anyway, there was a lot coming through and I saw the article, but I didn't see your name. I just saw on the Jewish Now. And then I was like, I should really go through my Facebook Messenger messages, which I have not done in 3 months. And there you are. You messaged me I love your podcast. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Bashir. And then I realized in that exact, it was within an hour.
And while she was doing that, I was Googling you to figure out what do you do? Where do you live? And I thought, oh my God, not only did I love what you wrote, but you actually have all of this relevancy to the kinds of topics we're talking about. And then when Caroline emailed me that you wanted to be on the podcast, I said, oh my God, that's the same woman I've been emailing you all morning about.
It was so weird. But it was July, you messaged me. And this was a week, 2 weeks ago.
It's really crazy. And I think one of the things that I'm super interested to talk about, because we have been spending a lot of time thinking about how we raise our children and what kind of lives we want. And being somebody born and raised in New York, it feels like there's nowhere else in the world you could ever live. And Caroline has that experience until recently where she's starting to think about a move. And I'm married to someone who, born and raised in New York. And so when I saw that you also are
born and raised in Manhattan. New York is a big place, Eva.
That's what I meant, the city.
I know.
New York City. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
But you actually moved to the burbs to raise your kids.
I did.
So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, can we start with that? Because I do feel as us native New Yorkers, it's not
New York or nowhere.
Right. And it's not usually the place where you go, okay, I'm going to leave New York City. Because most people leave because they're also terrified for the school application process and everything. So it's not usually the reverse. So tell us, what's it like being suburban?
I love it. And all my friends who I grew up with were sort of surprised when I decided to move, but also felt like it made sense because I've always been sort of a rom-com, 80s movies lover, cheesy. I like the cheerleader. I like all that. So I think I wanted that deep down. My husband and I lived in London for 2 years after we got married, and it was the first time I was out of my bubble. And it taught me a lot about making new friends and finding my own community, not just, the basic trajectory, which I had been living and loved. I had a beautiful childhood. But once we had our kids, I just felt ready for something a little different. And it's not that wild and crazy. I live 30 minutes from here. But yeah, it's different, but I love it.
And what do you love more about it? If you what's the difference?
It feels both like where I live in particular, like a big town, but a small community. So there's a lot of my city friends are like, oh, do you always just see people that you know? And the answer is no. There's so many different nail places, hair salons, whatever, the basics.
Yeah, I love that. Because that's what I was thinking. I like to go to a place where, actually, it's funny you said that. The first place I told someone I was pregnant besides my husband was at a new nail place I'd never been to in New York City. Because I knew I'd never see this person again. I just had to tell somebody. So you need to have a place where you don't know anybody.
And now you actually get your nails done at home. So you really don't want to run into anybody.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's really funny.
I mean, and I love coming home to the Upper East Side, but I see everybody when I'm walking up Madison Avenue and I'm going to Three Guys, and it's just like, okay, it's the same thing.
Oh yeah, it's worse.
And there's a little more just mixing it up, but yet it's so cute. You go to the town soccer field and everybody's there and you say hello. Like, I don't know. I just really like it. I actually find it very convenient, even though I didn't even drive until.
That's amazing. You didn't feel isolated that you couldn't drive in a house?
So I purposefully wanted to live in a neighborhood where you could walk and you can walk to the nail place, thank God, Starbucks, all the things. And now I also drive, but I wanted to have that walkability, and so I have a great thing going on for me.
What do you do in Scarsdale besides nail salons, hair places,
and work and raise kids?
No, I'm just kidding, but it's just so funny that those are like your kind of
barometer.
Like points
I mean, look
of
at her.
comparison.
She's beautiful. You have to you have to keep it up, you know?
I understand, Caroline. I just want to dig in
You're
deeper
a little
to
more
the
hippie.
I mean, I grew up in suburbia.
Yeah.
So I had the reverse experience of you. And
right.
It's funny, a lot of the things you both are saying about Manhattan is why I love it so much, because when I walk out my front door, whether I'm going market shopping.
A guy take a shit on your corner.
Well, that
which I did see this morning.
That I admit I don't like. But like if I'm going to the market, picking up Eleanor, walking to whatever I'm doing in the neighborhood, I love that I'm seeing people of all different walks of life, and that, yes, I'm running into people I know inevitably, but I'm also chatting with people who wouldn't even live in the town I grew up in. And it's fun because it's so diverse and you're forced to interact. Whereas growing up, you can drive somewhere, drive home, and then be in your house on a property that doesn't engage or connect or intersect with anyone else.
I think there's obviously pros and cons to everything. I think one of the beauties of where I live is that it is so close. Like I'm here for the morning and I'm going home and I'm coming back tomorrow. So I do feel like I have the best of both worlds. But
I mean, there's a reason people love where you live. I mean, look, I think it's actually really brave in a way. I know that sounds stupid, but to leave.
Something new.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because it is. It's really hard. There's a lot of pressure, especially when you've grown up in what I would say is one of the hardest places to raise a child. So if you know the rhythm or have connections, like, it's hard to leave that.
I agree.
And I think it's very brave. A lot of us don't,
because
we're sort of, I think we're actually the least resilient. That sounds crazy though, right? But native New Yorkers, I feel like we think we can't live anywhere else. We're so used to a certain way of life, the intensity, the anxiety, the hustle. Like, I don't know how to relax sometimes unless I leave.
I don't know if that's resilience or just a
I'm saying I'm not resilient.
Right. But what I'm saying is I'm not sure if that means you're not resilient or if that just means you're have sort of a superiority complex.
I think it's a superiority complex. Like I go to, like my husband's from Boston. I go to Boston. I'm like, oh, this is not a city.
Isn't that a John Updike quote? He said, New Yorkers secretly believe that everyone living everywhere else is kidding.
Yes, they're kidding themselves.
But both my siblings actually moved to California, which taught me that we could live somewhere else. And then my parents, are still here and they still give me a hard time for having gone 30 minutes. But
no, I think it's great. I think New York is a very complicated place to raise kids, especially today. And you mentioned in your book also just like social media and being a woman. I just think there's so much, not that it's not in other places, but there's a lot going on and also stress is such a factor in aging. And I feel like New York City is just not necessarily a
chill,
like a low, chill.
Not
as your bracelet say, pause. It's hard to pause here.
I love that bracelet. I feel like I should tattoo on my wrist, pause. But I just have one
more question. I would love
to
see Eva getting a tattoo.
Was your husband raised there or are you both coming somewhere new? Because I actually think it's quite romantic and very few people do that. Where like, I shouldn't say very few, but I didn't do it, where both of you go and forge a new path somewhere where neither of you have a foundation.
So he's from Long Island, so similar but different. And we live in Westchester, and it's a new place for the both of us that is close to our families, but independent.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think I do. I think it's really, I'm impressed by it now. I really am.
Come on over.
Even more impressive to me is like you've had this, you're only 40 and yet you've had this multifactorial career already where you've done a lot of different things. And so maybe you could just share, sort of your journey as a woman, like from a purpose career perspective.
Sure. So I have worn many different hats, but I've always had the same mission, which is to help women and to help people who didn't have as much privilege as I did. I went straight from Penn to law school, hated law school. So I also got my master's in social work at the same time. And I worked as a lawyer. I practiced immigration law. I worked in legal personnel roles when I became a mom and didn't want to bill hours anymore. And over the quarantine, when I felt pretty shitty, and of course, I was so lucky to have the resources that I had. And I was looking around and thinking, all these women, no matter how privileged you are, it can be really hard. And I thought, I have my license as a social worker, as a psychotherapist that I can use to help provide the support that I wish I had had to moms, to women in the workplace. And it's been really cool to be an entrepreneur. Never thought I would do that, but to really find my own path in supporting women.
So you are in private practice and you started the practice yourself.
Yeah.
Was that hard to build clients?
Yes, it's not easy, but I think, and this is advice I give to all women, think about your network, because there are so many amazing ways women can help you. And it might not be someone you know from work. It could be your old childhood friend or whatever it is, but everyone has something interesting to offer, or they know someone. And I couldn't have done what I did without my friends and friends of friends. It's really beautiful.
So I read the Lori Gottlieb book. You're not okay, or I forget what it's called.
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking of the title. But
she basically was a writer in Hollywood. She actually wrote for ER, and then she realized she knew so much about the medical field from writing for ER or Grey's Anatomy, one of those.
I read it.
And she ended up becoming a therapist, and then she writes about her experience as a therapist and how like therapists need therapy. Anyway, I thought it was a fabulous book, but she talks about like the emotional connection. Like, how do you keep like I sort of secretly want to have your job.
You can't. You just talk too much. You have to listen.
But do you keep, like, is it hard not to get emotionally involved?
It is hard, but I used to practice immigration law, which can be really intense. And I'm a very task-oriented person. So to be able to, or what I used to do was, file the petitions or take their stories, and then you're waiting. And it's so not in your control. And it can also be really, really difficult. Like if you're working with refugees or victims of domestic violence, like that was hard to leave at the office. Not that my clients today are any less deserving of empathy, but I feel like in our sessions, I'm able to help them, even though I can't get them a green card. It's a different level of what they're looking for. And I do feel emotionally attached to them, but I love it. Like, I'm so privileged. I love my clients. I work with women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And it's really a pleasure to be able to be there for them.
What about 50s? Eva, you just missed the cutoff and you couldn't be a client.
No, I couldn't.
Dual relationship.
So it's funny.
Although the average age in your book, I think, is 51, your exact age.
I am 51. I actually think it's really interesting that you wrote a book about menopause, even though you have no kind of personal experience. I mean, all women will go through it, but like, what motivated you? Was it talking to your clients who are in that perimenopausal state, or even in the 40s? Some could be in menopause.
They sure could. So no, it was just that I realized I knew nothing about it. And I'm like, what the fuck is menopause? Like, why doesn't anyone talk about this? And I feel like we've gotten more comfortable talking about fertility issues and mental health. Like, I love
Mic'd and Medicated.
I'm obsessed with the title of your pod and everything you're doing, because we have to be open about it. And I felt like menopause was still on the list of things we don't talk about. And the more I learned about it, I realized that the symptoms often do start in one's late 30s, early 40s, that they can impact, it's more than hot flashes. It can impact you tremendously, including on your mental health. And then once I was researching and networking with doctors and all sorts of providers, I did start seeing the symptoms among my clients. And I thought, I'm so glad I can recognize this and help them in the right way.
No, I love what you were saying, how women want to share. And if we start to share and we're vulnerable, and I think it is helpful. Like, I do agree, our generation, Eva is not a millennial, but she is proud to not be, but I think we're not so bad. And
I love being a millennial. I think it's fun.
We started sharing. I know you're like, you guys stop complaining.
No, it's not. You've made
right. I feel like that.
Caroline made a joke that I'm not a millennial, and I was thinking, I don't know, for my money, when you think about millennials, and this is so stereotypical, and neither of you fit it, but they can feel entitled. They can feel not willing to work hard,
Then
want
comes
things
Gen
to
Z,
come
Eva.
easy to them. And
we
so
look very good.
it just the bar keeps getting lower. So I was just making a joke back saying, well, I'm excited that
Well, because she said the word mupload. You didn't know what a mupload was.
No, I have no idea
It's
what
like
a
when
mupload
you made
is.
mobile uploads, when you used to, your phone could actually,
BlackBerry.
right, you could upload photos to your Facebook. It was like the first kind of thing you could do. And so we called them muploads.
Oh my God.
very
I had a
cutting
BlackBerry
edge.
for work, but I had no idea there were
You
personal
weren't like socially
reasons.
using it.
Right.
No.
So
Were you guys BBMing?
No, you were
Wait,
not.
you were buying
exactly.
Blackberries to socially communicate?
That was our phone.
That was our cell phone.
Yeah.
We were doing emails.
Wow.
What were we emailing?
I guess at college. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But we had BBN pins, and then this would be the best you'd put on your status. It was like where you were. Yeah. So you could put an away message.
Like before. So it's like an out of office message, but it's kind of like Foursquare today where where people are.
We'd be like, Paris.
Yeah.
It's like so dumb.
So dumb. And if you were flirting, you'd be like, here's my pin.
Yes. Because you had to have their pin. You couldn't add the context.
Yeah.
So anyway, the mupload came from that. So that's why I said you would understand it. But anyway, I don't think we're so bad. But again, millennials I do think we started to break the barriers of sharing. Because like our parents were the kids of baby boomers who they were the generation that was seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Very repressed. They don't know what the fuck's going on. And they didn't really tell us anything.
Yeah. And my mom and I talk all the time, and she's also a social worker. And yet I knew nothing about her experience. And granted, I didn't ask her directly until I was writing the book, but I find that weird, right?
Well, I just think I think that generation doesn't, maybe you too, like, I don't think being vulnerable was necessarily a strength. Like, I feel like you're like, you would say, like, if someone in your workplace might have asked for, a menopause brain fog break, you'd be like, go fuck yourself. It's like you see vulnerability as weakness, not in a bad way in the workplace. It's separate, right? Where we're sort of like integrating it into, like, Gen Z took it too far where it's like ridiculous, but we're kind of just having the conversation open.
I can buy that. And I actually am jealous in the sense of, I think your generation has their priorities straight in terms of, recognizing that they care about experiences over consumerism, or they don't want to work over the weekend. They'd rather not get promoted more quickly and have a work-life balance. So for all of those reasons, I agree. And I do feel like that is probably like a healthy correction to sort of, I grew up working like a dog. I'd work Friday nights, I'd work weekends, but it served me well. And I, excelled.
It was kind of what you needed though in that point of your life.
Maybe. Yeah. No, I would agree with that too. But, and I want to get to that because I was sort of giggling at the part of the book that talked about, fighting for these rights in the workplace, just having had 30 years in corporate America and trying to put that conversation in context of like my personal experience. But just to start, because I think we could go so many different directions with this conversation, but as the one in the room who is definitely.
Have you gone through menopause yet? Because I feel like you still
I'm in perimenopause. Perimenopause, I mean, I'm not the expert here. We should ask Lauren, but my knowledge is that perimenopause can be many years long. It's very unique for everyone, which Lauren so, really accurately and smartly shares in the book. And menopause is actually just a day. And it's basically once you have not gotten your period for 12 straight months, that day then becomes menopause. And the only reason you need to demarcate.
No one knows.
I thought perimenopause started like after your last period.
No, that's postmenopause.
So a couple of things. This is my personal experience.
Sorry,
and then we'll let the experts
book,
speak. But perimenopause can go on for years and years. And many doctors, mine sort of looked at my hormone levels to say you're in perimenopause. It's not related to period, stopping. But once your period is stopped for 12 months in a row, then you are declared at the point of menopause. And the reason for that, my GYN told me, is because after that, if you bleed, it's abnormal bleeding. So they needed, exactly. So they needed a way to put a stake in the ground. So for example, I might have gone 9 months without my period. And then if I got my period, the clock starts over.
Or you could have been pregnant.
And you can be.
No, in your book, you mentioned how people actually, they think you can't because you're like obviously in perimenopause or you're later in stage in life, but you still can. Not that,
So if you don't want to be, use contraceptives.
Yeah.
Yes. But I like one of the parts of the book that really fascinated me. And I learned a lot. Like, I'm 51 and I've gone through a lot of this. I'm not at menopause yet, but I learned a lot. So this is a terrific resource for people.
Thank you.
The symptoms that you list, they're so comprehensive, and everyone's experience is so individual. But you mentioned here some of the perimenopausal symptoms: graying hair, thinning hair, facial hair, melasma, sagging skin, jowling, lidded eyelids, night sweats, weight gain, belly fat.
Belly.
Oh,
What
I
do you
love
call it?
this term, menobelly.
Yeah, is that Dr. Messer? She's my endocrinologist. I love
Mine
her.
too.
Yep.
She's a great resource in the book.
Yeah, she's my favorite.
And I guess like anxiety and, you know, the list goes on and on and on. But like for me, what was so interesting is I've had a lot of these different experiences, but you know, the causes can be so many different things.
Yes.
So like if somebody's feeling anxious or somebody's feeling tired or somebody's feeling, you know, that brain fog, the memory loss, it can be that we're living these crazy lives and we have multiple children and we're trying to like keep everything, all the trains running and survive. Or it could be menopause. I have had some friends who have had very distinct new symptoms where they have gone to a doctor and it's been very clear that there has been a shift and it is menopausal. And one of the things I can say was the best thing I heard after a long journey trying to figure out, you know, where I was on this journey is treat the symptoms, don't treat
the diagnosis. Yes, I'm a firm believer in that, because it could be a medical issue, which of course you should get evaluated and of course rule out. It could be the daily stressors of life, which we all feel. It could be perimenopause. It could be a combination. But so you have to have providers who listen to you, who are able to assess, is this new and different? What's going on here? And really just treat it. It could be in the form of medication, whether it's an antidepressant, it's hormone therapy. It could be, we all need better quality sleep, you know, stress reduction, forms of exercise. But you should try different things and see what works, and then also play around with it, because what works for you today might not work for you in a few years or months even.
I feel like aging is just like, I'm going to just continue to add to my medical
Your cocktail.
Yeah, I'm going to just add to my cocktail and just add more beauty appointments. That's just kind of how I'm seeing it right now.
That's okay.
Right?
Well,
it's whatever keeps me feeling good, man.
Exactly.
Well, I think actually one of the best pieces of advice that you share is to build relationships with providers early on. So like my experience, and I think a lot of my friends had similar ones, is you have an OB-GYN when you have your children. And chances are, and in my case, it was true, my OB-GYN liked the OB part of her job.
Right.
So you reach a point where you're going to her and you realize, or him, and you realize they're so not that interested because they're focused on babies and that process, that they're, you know, seeing you in and out. They don't have all the information about what, you know, the next stage of life as a woman looks like, because they've been so focused on the baby making stage. And then you're sort of at a loss because you're trying to build a new relationship with a GYN. And I actually went to 2 or 3 GYNs before I found one who actually knew anything about menopause. So even within the GYN category, depending on their age and training, it's really like a rare breed. Like I think most women my age,
doctor does, Dr. Gubala. I think her practice, she does, usually would say like obstetrics and gynecology.
It doesn't matter. They all say that. Very few say just obstetrics. What I'm trying to say is like most of my friends, like there's probably a list of 5-6 doctors and everyone knows the same 5-6 doctors. So I think the networking early to figure out who is the doctor that treats this and understands this, especially when it comes to the hormone therapy, but also switching early. Cause I think it was like, there was no need to switch because I liked my doctor. She'd ask about my kids. I'd go every year. And then once you have an issue or one of these symptoms, then you're like trying to meet somebody new. And it's like in Manhattan, you're waiting 6-9 months to see one of these doctors. And they have no history on you.
Do you still go to your OB or?
I do, but as I was writing the book, I was hormone free for the first time in many, many years. Last summer, I had taken out my IUD. I wanted to reset. And this was coincidental that I was researching. But as I was writing the list of symptoms, I'm like, oh, you know, I have this, check, check, check. And, you know, maybe I'm perimenopausal. Again, that's a diagnosis. I don't care if I am or I'm not. What the symptoms were for me was periods that I didn't care for, you know, heavy bleeding, cramping, all that.
I used to say it looked like I killed a person
scene.
out of my vagina in the toilet.
Yeah. I've heard that crime scene.
Yeah.
No, but like it's,
what do you mean during like perimenopause?
When you're in perimenopause, your periods can change. And I was also somebody who never had that kind of, people say like that time of month, like, oh, I'm PMSing or I have cramps or this or that. Like
maybe it was just every day for you, Eva.
It was just a non-issue for me. And then like in perimenopause, it became where it was like physically debilitating when I was having my period.
That's why I'm on the pill. It's amazing.
Well, so that was with me.
Say in the book, it said too.
Right. And I was very irritable during this time of no hormones. And I know myself and I know my usual anxiety with a splash of depression. And this wasn't that. It was different. And so at that time, I spoke with the menopause specialist gynecologist and I went back on the pill and I feel great. And then when it was time for my annual with my usual OB, I just told her and she was like, great. Sounds good. So
it wasn't your OB who prescribed the pill?
No, it could have been, but given that I was so connected to so many menopause experts, I called in that favor and asked what they thought.
No, I think actually the pill is great. I really think it kind of keeps you leveled. So I feel like what I learned from your book too, and I think it's all stages of being a woman, is it's the hormone, you know, it's just your hormones are all over the place. So I feel like having a pill kind of keeps your hormones leveled.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the pill for a very long time. I couldn't agree more, except I would say if you want to get pregnant, going off well in advance of when you want to get pregnant. Again, I just want a disclosure. I'm not a doctor. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I only have my own experience.
And I have asked fertility specialists that question.
Your book says there's no issue.
Generally, every woman's different. But in general, you can go off pretty soon after and then get pregnant.
This might be a really dumb question, but two questions.
No question is dumb, Eva.
Thank you.
Unless it's coming out of my mouth.
No.
Two questions. One, is every menopause expert that you've encountered also a gynecologist? And number two, why don't women just stay on the pill forever? Is it a different kind of hormone than HRT therapy?
I will answer those questions. I think they're great questions. So no, all kinds of providers can be menopause experts. I would go to the Menopause Society, menopause.org, and look up who has the certification in advanced menopause training. And that can be an endocrinologist, primary care, internist, nurse practitioners. And I met with so many amazing, smart providers who don't necessarily do gynecology. A lot of these telehealth platforms are menopause trained, but they don't even see you in person. So you might need to do your annual PAP or whatever it is separately, and then talk about hormones with someone who's actually trained in the treatment. The pill is hormone therapy. It's hormones. And I'm talking about the basic, oral combined contraceptive pill, which is estrogen and progesterone, a form of it. Again, not a doctor, so speak to someone who is if you're looking for specific information. Obviously, this is not medical advice.
Nope, nothing we say.
Nothing we say. It is actually higher doses of estrogen and progesterone than what we consider hormone therapy. And the reason for that is that when you're in perimenopause and you still are ovulating, you can get pregnant. And what the pill does is shuts down your ovarian functioning. So that's why it's the high levels of the meds. Once you're in menopause, you've reached that 12-month mark. And if you want hormone therapy, which is often in the form of a patch or a micronized oral progesterone pill, that is lower dosage because you don't need your ovaries to stop functioning.
Got it.
Because no eggs are coming out.
Exactly. They've stopped. So some women do stay on the pill, and they actually say that if it works for you, because that's always the question, right? Check in with yourself. How are you feeling on it? Is it working for you? Do you want to make any changes? If it is working for you, usually they'll keep you on it till about age 55, because likely you'll have gone through spontaneous menopause by then. And you can always go off. And some women say, I'm hot flashing like crazy. I want to go back on. That's fine too. That's why again, going back, you have to talk to your doctor.
So I didn't even know that was an option to be on the pill post menopause.
Wait, that's fascinating because there's all of this controversy over the safety of HRTs, and because of that one study that at least my generation, everyone is worried. And I'll be honest, as I had friends start doing HRT, and I had a friend I was walking with who showed me her patch, and like this is very accepted now among the women I know who are doing it. But I was even like, is that safe? I don't know if I want it. I'd rather suffer through any symptoms. But yet the pill is so widely used and safe, and it's a higher dose of hormones. So that makes no sense to me.
It's all about messaging and the alarm that was spread. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And it's scary that often doctors, you know, who we trust and obviously admire, they didn't get the training in it. But I think increasingly they are. Some states are now mandating that doctors and other providers get training. So let's see what happens.
I love that you said you just wanted to suffer for it, because I think that in your book, I loved that you said that that's sort of why menopause and these things haven't been talked about, because women are just supposed to endure pain.
Right.
And I didn't know. I learned something great, that hysteria comes from the Greek word of taking out hysterectomy.
Yeah,
so, you know, we've been hysterical and crazy for a long time. I thought that was amazing.
Right.
But you're right. Why should we? That's, by the way, your reasoning to just suffer in your menopause symptoms is the same reason someone would be like, I don't want the epidural.
Yeah. Or I don't want Advil for my headache. It's natural.
By the way, I didn't want an epidural, and I don't take Advil for my headache. So yes, I must love to suffer.
But why do you like to suffer? That's so weird.
Well, and it's funny. I really do think I've changed my tune, and I love in the book how you're very open about your anxiety. Yes. I started anti-anxiety medication, and it was so life-changing that it really did open my mind to the fact that, like, why do I feel proud of suffering? Why am I adverse to getting assistance?
Should we analyze you and switch positions on the couch?
No, but like, what was your journey? And do you medicate for your anxiety?
I love my medication for my anxiety. I similarly felt that going on the SSRI that I'm on, which I'm happy to share the name, but it's not about that. Like everyone's different. Yeah. It changed my life. And I was so anxious, and depression would pop up now and then. They are like cousins, but it was more anxiety. And, you know, I'm high achieving and very proud of that and always studying. And it wasn't like test anxiety. It was just life. Like I really took things very heavily. And I had been on an SSRI in my 20s that was okay. And then when I wanted to get pregnant, actually my OB said, I would like for you to meet with a reproductive psychiatrist so that we can set you up for success. I said, okay, sure. Because I knew that I would be at risk for perinatal depression, because that's just how my brain works. And that psychiatrist truly changed my life. She listened to my history. She said, okay, hear that you tried this SSRI. Sounds like it was okay. Why don't we try a different one? Again, trial and error. And I've been on it for 10 years, and don't take it away from me. Like it really helped me.
Yeah, I think actually the genome test is amazing, because I was on an SSRI before and I changed it, and it really changed for me. And I wished I had done this earlier, but I did not till actually after I had my daughter. So it was my second child, or I wouldn't let anybody carry her. And I thought I kept seeing people dropping her on the marble. Like in my head, my husband's like, you need this. Thank God.
Help.
He's like, you need fucking help. Like I can't deal with this anymore. And thank God, because COVID happened like 8 weeks later. So could you imagine?
Nobody else could carry her baby.
No, I was like, I was psycho.
Yeah,
but again, I was an anxious mess during pregnancy. Yeah. Like I remember, I don't even know if I've told this on one of the podcasts, but I was so fucking nuts when I was pregnant with my son. I was like 9 months pregnant. It was August. I was so hot. I was literally naked eating, and I spilled almond milk. And it went in my vagina because like it spilled. And I thought I was going to do something to the baby. How fucking dumb is that? I texted my OB and I was like, almond milk went in my vagina. Should I worry?
You know your OB is sharing that with friends. Like, look how crazy my patients are. That would be a great meme today.
Like, ridiculous. And she was like, I think she had mentioned meds maybe should be something, but
you know what's so funny? Like I'm having this thought right now, and maybe it's
is
not
that nuts? That's insane. That was a reason to text her like an emergency.
Naked, but
I was so hot. You know, I was 9 months pregnant. It was like 100 degrees.
I will give you. It's a little weird to think that if some almond milk.
Little weird. It sounds like
I'll use the word vajayjay, the word we're not supposed to use.
I say vajayjay.
You can do whatever you want.
No, but I'm having this thought right now that we are three kind of like high achieving neurotic women. And I wonder, like, it is like, that's what propelled us and made us successful. But that's also what like kept us back and held us back, like emotionally and probably even from a success standpoint, because we didn't just go for it.
Right.
And I wonder, like, if I don't know, I'm sure studies are done on like who are the people like on these, like, it feels like every high achieving woman we meet. No, it does. It feels like every high achieving woman we meet says she's on an SSRI.
About this. It's survival of the fittest. Okay. Our kind of person, a Jewish woman, only survived because she was fucking crazy neurotic and was like, oh my God, the Romans are coming. Oh my God, the Spaniards are coming. Oh my God.
It's a lot of trauma.
The Nazis are coming. Let's leave.
I know so many friends who are not Jewish, but are high achieving and are in a similar situation. So I don't know.
And are they on meds?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. I mean, anxiety can be motivating, and
you don't want too much though.
Right.
I always say harness the right way. Anxiety is the engine of productivity. It's just like you want to not get over that tipping
You don't want to
point.
be worried about milk in your vagina 9 months pregnant.
Right.
Anxiety.
And it's funny how we all had
so heavily.
Right. And we all have different experiences because like for me pregnant, it was such a natural, joyous
you were calm.
experience.
Some people become very calm.
I was so calm. I felt intuitively I knew how to be a mom. I loved nursing.
Wow. I hate breastfeeding.
I didn't have baby nurses. Like I just loved all of it. But I am an anxious wreck about other things the way you are about the pregnancy and almond milk. So we all have different triggers.
I've so graduated from that anxiety. I'm so proud of myself.
You're ready to have another baby to test it?
Oh, no, because I'm on Paxil and you can't even have that pregnant. I wouldn't give that up.
Right, like you wouldn't give up your anxiety medication for another baby.
No way.
Many SSRIs are totally safe during pregnancy and nursing.
My specific one is not.
Just saying.
Oh, no, a lot are.
Yes.
Prozac, I think, Zoloft.
Zoloft, Lexapro.
That's why I started on Zoloft because I was still breastfeeding.
So wait, let me ask you, because you treat women and you treat women in an area with the demographic we've been talking about. Do you find most of them you refer out for medication or they take an SSRI or is it just talk therapy that they need?
It's mixed. I do see a lot of women who are suffering, and I tell them that, and I say, "Why are you suffering?" Because the meds don't make you numb, and that's something that was really important to me. I was like, I don't want to be a different person. I just want to feel better, and I do, and I tell that to my clients who are really so anxious and ruminating and can't get out of that spiral, no matter how many coping mechanisms we come up with and tools to take a pause before they react or interpret their mother-in-law a different way or their boss, whatever it is. And so I do refer them. And sometimes the medication is temporary and sometimes it could be indefinite like it is for me, but everyone's different.
And as I understand, it's biological. So some people have a different serotonin set point. And this is probably
mine's very low. Actually.
Mine is too.
Yeah.
And so in some ways you're just like getting to baseline so you can be like everybody else.
Well, it's sort of like having, I think there's two things. It's my aunt always described it when I was reluctant to go on it was like she had a little rock in her shoe, but she didn't know. Like it was uncomfortable when she walked, but she kind of thought that was normal. And then took it out and was like, oh my God, I had a rock in my shoe. Ow.
I think I had a boulder in my shoe.
I think you had a knife through your foot. But I also think a lot of women are afraid. I was afraid to go on SSRI because I thought it was going to make me fat. So that is a real thought process that when I did the genome test where you swap, it actually shows which meds you'll have very low, like you'll have, what is the word I'm looking for? Your side effects will be very low.
I never thought about that. That's so funny.
Well, yeah, I thought, I'm also curious on how Ozempic is going to play a role in menopause because I think something that can make women depressed is that menobelly. Getting with
and your body image, you're like, I don't recognize myself anymore internally or externally. And even if you want to be accepting, it still sucks when none of your clothes fit, right?
Yeah.
So that is a big change. They're finding that GLP-1 medications are actually really amazing for women in menopause because it's anti-inflammatory. And what happens when your estrogen is like this and then ultimately decreasing is that inflammation happens. So your autoimmune stuff might pop up if that happens to you, et cetera. And GLP-1s reduce that inflammation. And so there's both the weight loss, but also the just good effects.
Do they
overall.
reduce it because you're eating probably healthier, you think? So you have less inflammation?
I couldn't tell you the exact
Right.
science.
That's what I'm curious. Is it,
it's the insulin. So I think the eating less is a product of what's going on internally.
Because I thought the GLP-1s, and we've had some people talk about it, is more of the affects the brain versus the metabolic system, but I could be wrong.
Look, I think no matter what age you are, as we've talked about in many episodes, feeling good, and actually a big insight for me, we met with a dietitian, is it's about feeling in control. So it doesn't even actually have to do with your weight or whether, it's about when you feel out of control, that's a really terrible feeling.
Well, that's anxiety.
Why, right, or that's why when your pants are tight.
That's such a, yes, exactly.
Yeah. But see, this is the problem with life. Like, you're really never in control.
Correct.
Right?
One therapist once told me worry is the illusion of control. Like,
yes.
we're not in
Worry
control.
really robs you.
Right.
Worry, like my husband would say that. Worry just like there's no, it's a waste of time.
But it's funny that coming out of your mouth because you have spent, I don't know, 6 months trying to convince me that worry is what keeps us alive and that's survival of the fittest.
No, I'm saying like that is why we're all fucking crazy, but it got too much. Like we got all inbred with worry. Like I've got enough worry. I've got normal amount now. I'm good. I don't need almond milk in the vagina worry, but I need worry like Mondani's coming. Should I worry that like Jews aren't safe worry? You know what I mean?
That's also, intergenerational trauma, which is very real. Like for the history of
what I'm saying. That's
the universe,
how
we've been persecuted.
Right.
So that's not nothing.
Right.
Right. Worry is like you don't put your hand on a stove or you'll get burned. And if you have zero worry, you might put your hand on the stove. Right. So I don't know. It's like everything else in life, you have to find that balance.
You don't want to ruminate and spiral. I think that's when you have a problem.
Yeah.
If you get stuck in a worry that's not even like,
like
doesn't even make sense, like almond milk in the vagina, like that's a problem. Then you have a problem. Like, or it's the spiral. Right. You can hear the worry, acknowledge it, and then you can be like, okay, how do I maybe solve for this or put it away? It's the inability. That's what I learned. I looked at myself as a child and why didn't anybody help me? Like I was a fucking mess inside.
I feel that way too. I mean,
I'm younger and more fun now.
One, I don't know, maybe among my generation, it wasn't common. I feel like now it's actually very acceptable to not only treat yourself, but to treat your children. And maybe, and among my generation, that was just not something on any of our parents' radar. But for you, you feel the same way. Our
parents did not treat anxiety. It was like ADD. It was something that was treated.
It started, yes. And even my sister's 5 years younger than I am. And her peers started with the Ritalin and all that. And I feel like as a 40-year-old, it started, but that was really what
anxiety was not something they diagnosed.
No.
Like I don't know anybody who was put on an anxiety medicine.
Same.
Well, the good news is none of the three of us are going to be anxious about, or I haven't been anxious about menopause because we're medicated.
That's true. That is so. I just keep adding, as I said.
I mean, I'm just going back to this because I do feel like it's a topic that's so under discussed. I feel like a big part of the perimenopausal journey is not just about you and your body. It's about your interaction with your partner.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about like the change in desire, sex, all of that. And depending on how communicative you are with your partner, it's also complicated because all of a sudden it's not as easy and seamless and spontaneous as it once was.
Right.
Well, the kids will affect that.
I was going to say, well, is it sudden or it might be the kids, it might be postpartum. That
No. When you are in perimenopause, some women I meet are like, it hasn't affected me at all from a sex perspective, but a lot of women will say it's incredibly painful. My vagina feels like sandpaper.
What about lube?
I have no libido. Lube does not solve it.
Usually vaginal estrogen.
Do people just need like a younger hot husband? Is
it
our husbands are getting older?
No. So I was on this journey because I was having painful intercourse and I had sort of outgrown the OB-GYN who I could just tell was like, you're fine.
I'm sorry.
And then I know it actually was a terrible experience. And then I went to the
pelvic.
I went to somebody at Cornell. And of course I like to find somebody in network. So I'm like scanning an OB. Yeah. Smile, Carol.
I go for the best. I spend all my money on doctors. It's so bad. Better than Bergdorf's.
I'm scanning somebody I can see in network and my friend's like, oh yeah, she's good. And I went and I'll never forget. This woman sat before she even examined me and she was like, women at your age, like it's time to start thinking about other ways to be intimate. There's lots of ways to be intimate.
Go to the movies?
You're a new you. She looked young. Like she was probably in her 30s. And I was like,
fuck you.
I'm really sorry. Like you're talking to me in this very condescending manner. Like I need to
let go of sex.
Calibrate my expectations about like what's possible. So I was very sort of irritated. And then I went to see somebody else and they said like, maybe it's emotional. Like at this point, they thought it was psychological.
Hello.
Like,
It's all in your head.
Well, no. She had like a working hypothesis, which was I would clench because I was so afraid that was making it like not happen.
Which that might have played a factor.
She was like, and you know, there's a lot of vaginal atrophy and all these things happen. And I was like, oh, this sounds awful. And then I get up in the stirrups. I get up in the stirrups and she's like, actually, like, she's like, you're completely normal, youthful. Like you shouldn't be having any problems. I think it really is psychological. So she made me buy these dilators. Thank you. So I got a pack of, she said, buy the plainest kind. So I went on Amazon and I got a pink.
They're like dildos, but like
they're very simple plastic medical dildos. And like the first one looks like a pencil and the last one looks like an eggplant. Like they go in varying sizes. And she was like, relax, lay down, use some gel and like try to put them in. And, you know, the first one goes in, the second one goes in, but then the third one doesn't go in. And luckily my husband is not the size of the third one. And so, I'm like, there's a problem here. And so like, they're like, try this 15 minutes, you know, 4 times a week. And it's just like, who in their day has time to like relax, lube their dilator and lay on their back for 20 minutes trying to like slowly. And by the way, I'm not somebody who's patient. So it's like, if it's not going in, I'm not laying there like with deep breaths, like helping it to go in. And then, like that just was not working. And then a friend told me like, oh, you have to see the finger doctor. And I'm like, who's the finger doctor?
I know, this still blows my mind.
And this is like a PT person. So I couldn't get into the finger doctor. That's like the name of this one doctor who's like, it might have been, I don't know, who's Upper West Side. But then I got a recommendation from another friend about what is just called a PT therapist.
Pelvic floor
therapist. I love this woman. She has she was actually, you want to just like so funny. The same way you said the first person you told you were pregnant was a just like stranger doing your nails. She was the first person I told that we were starting a podcast. Like I was literally laying there like totally vulnerable. And I was like, so I'm actually starting a podcast and she's really young. She's really young. So she's like into podcasts. I was like, oh my God, you're like the best audience. So like every week I would like ask her ideas because she said her and her friends listen to so many podcasts and she has 2 young kids. And we would just chat about all these crazy things. I really love her, but I stopped going. And this is the other thing. You have to be compliant. Like, so I would see her and she would work her magic.
Yeah.
And then I would do that. I would do the dilators. And honestly, after 12 weeks, we could do it. And it was great. And then you like,
congrats, Doug.
and then like life goes on and you forget for, I don't know, 2 weeks and then you can't do it again. And you got to go back through that whole process. And she actually told me that she has a patient, and I kind of tried this once when we went away, who has to set the mood. She drinks a glass of wine, takes a gummy, vibrates herself, does the lube, and then she's ready to have sex.
Like, that's
and
a lot
by
of work.
the way, it seems like a lot of work, but let me tell you, that is the kind of foreplay that you need to do if you have this problem. However, I will say then I finally found an amazing doctor. And by the way, on top of all this, I'm doing vaginal estrogen.
I was going to ask that vaginal estrogen.
Oh yeah, that's like child's play. Yeah, everyone I know is doing vaginal
Can you like wear
estrogen.
a ring or something that like keeps it expanded?
Oh, I just walk around with it. Actually, it's so funny you say that because I probably shouldn't say this. I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but sometimes when I really didn't have time, I'd be like making mac and cheese with it stuck on me, and I'd be like,
"It's okay, you do that
waddling around the kitchen, like, is this working?"
You do it. You gotta do, and
that makes cooking more fun. I'm dying.
But no, what I was going to say is, so it like really is a thing. But
when it falls out, you're done.
And she actually says it's
the next level.
But she actually says HRT is going to change my life. And I've done everything. I've done like the cream. There's also, they make it in a tablet, but the tablet's not good. You want the cream. Yeah. No, not even the mess. The tablet goes up, so it's like more systemic. The cream helps like that area, right? So I've done everything. But I am going to start hormone therapy, I think. And like reading your book actually gave me like that final push of encouragement. I made a doctor appointment this Friday.
Good.
But it's like a whole long thing.
Also,
and it took me so much longer than it needed to because I kept coming up against doctors who really just didn't know. And I wasted a year playing around with these dilators and not having the other stuff in place.
Also, like, isn't that something your husband could sort of get on board with or help you? Like, that's the only, like, if you're having a hard time.
But maybe you don't want him to. Like, a lot of women feel like they're not connected to their partners. They feel really annoyed by them. And for women, the biggest
annoyed by their
right?
husbands?
Imagine.
I don't know anybody who's annoyed by their husband.
I hear so many times like, his fucking chewing, I'm gonna kill him.
Oh, that, I mean, I'm like, just stop snoring. I'm like, he's like, I'm breathing.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop breathing.
To be totally honest, it's also like what the doctors say to you is like, there's lots of way to be intimate. So you're like, oh, great. I can't have sex, but like I can give you a blowjob.
No.
Oh,
we don't need to go there.
Sorry.
He can do something to you.
Of course. But it's like, if you're doing that game, it's sort of like, it's
a two-way street.
It's a your turn, my turn game.
Yeah. By the way, that reminds me that our sweatshirts are $69 on sale.
Amazing. Intentionally?
Yes.
Very millennial of you. 69.
And like, so all of this requires, I really go back to, if I could have found the right person earlier, I think I would have had a game plan, which I'm now on that works. But instead I had to like futz around with like finding the right person and then doing like what they were telling me to do for a long time.
All of a sudden, did your vagina like close up, or like did you just? No, I'm being honest.
No,
like,
that's so the tissue thins, and that's what they call atrophy, which is terrible. And they tend not to use that name anymore, but it's your tissue is changing.
But like,
and your
how do you notice? Like,
I actually don't have an atrophied vajayjay, so
I think you're just fucked up.
No, in a good way. Like that's like I thought that was the problem initially. That's not my problem.
Right.
I think for everyone it's so individual, but you're right. A lot of people have that, and that's why I asked you about the Mona Lisa. Because the Mona Lisa is this laser. So it's like kind of like laser for your face. And I have friends who have done that with great success.
Really?
And that is a laser. And by the way, a woman, I asked one doctor about it who was like, I don't recommend it. There's not enough studies on it.
Few studies.
But then my newest woman is like all in on it. But because I don't have, not thank God, who cares what you have? Because I don't have the atrophy, it's not, I'm not a candidate for it. But it's not inexpensive, but basically it's like a facelift for your vagina.
Oh, great. Well, I'm glad.
And I think you have to do it more than once. That's the other thing.
I think the more treatment options we have, the better, because everyone is so individualized. But yes, don't go get vaginal laser unless it's from a reputable provider.
But again, back to like the vagina thing, because it really is kind of scary to me. Like, I don't want to one day be like, whoa, I have to sit and do all this stuff that you're doing. So is it like something, if you keep having sex regularly, like do you keep it open or does it close? Like
it's hard. I think everything is, well, you tell me, Lauren, but isn't everything hormonally driven?
Yes, but also psychologically. So to the point about the vaginismus and clenching, that very much could have been psychological, and not to, tell you what you were thinking yourself. But for women, the brain is the most important sexual organ. And if you're exhausted and thinking about all the ruminating thoughts and thinking about where are the kids tomorrow and all this and that, you're not feeling sexy, right? Plus all of the physical and hormonal stuff. But in terms of, how can you prepare for it, prevent it? I think that I'm going to give sort of a wishy-washy answer, but I mean it. You have to know yourself. Like if something's different, don't put it off and wait to go get it checked. Maybe it is medical, God forbid, a problem. So just check in with yourself. Like, how am I feeling? Is this enjoyable? Is it hurting? It shouldn't feel like sandpaper. Like that's a problem.
It's actually interesting. We were talking about Judaism on our last podcast and how so much of it makes so much sense. And like, I think, the idea of when you after your period, you go to the mikvah, but like, apparently it's like a whole thing. Like you have that day to yourself and it's like kind of like a spa experience. You relax. Like it really makes sense. Like maybe in order to get into the mood, that's why I like a save the marriage trip, like a trip, like you're just more relaxed. You're not thinking about your everyday life. Like I think it makes a lot of sense.
Right. I think that's why people do
a ritual like the
ritual. I think you need the mikvah.
Like I mentioned. Oh my God.
I'll do it with you.
I'm a germaphobe. I'm terrified of a mikvah.
But I mean like the
DIY.
whole day of
unless it's fresh water. Like,
They're
unless
not.
I see them fill.
I think well, we'll figure out whatever. I'm just saying that's a really interesting ritual.
Yes.
I feel like Judaism really thought about the vagina's closing. They didn't want that to happen.
Judaism thinks of everything.
They do. I mean, it is. So basically what you're saying is there's no way to avoid potentially a closed vagina. I might,
No, like I said, I had a successful end to the journey, but it still requires attention. And I just think
maybe you need attention. That's your thing. Like you need to like relax. You don't actually give any. I do feel like you think it's very self-indulgent to take time to yourself.
Yeah.
That's not exercise.
Oh, no. Let's change that for
Yeah.
you.
I think that's like a big thing for you. Like you were like exhausted. Your daughter kept you all up all night. And I was like, go get your foot massage. Like, go, and like, no, I can't. Like that you could for 20 minutes.
I don't take Advil part of her.
Yeah. I think
that's so
I think there's the part of
Mm-hmm.
that, also sex is like obviously central, but you have to like you have to be relaxed.
Yeah.
And like care about yourself. It's not just like a medical thing. You're making it like on your to-do list.
Well, I actually am. I feel the most relaxed I've ever been in my life.
But you're still a little cuckoo. So you just, it's not cuckoo. You have that. It's your also generation of like, you have to work very hard and if you like brag about how little you sleep, how much you work, like you can take some time.
Yeah.
I actually normally sleep great because you say in the book, and I'm a huge believer that sleep is important. And luckily,
the best medicine.
that's one of
She
my
also
best
says,
skills.
put your oxygen mask on first.
I'm a good sleeper. So that's always been, so even if I only get 5 hours, it's 5 full hours. Like once I'm down, I'm dead to the world till I wake up.
But I do still think like you could do things that you think are self-indulgent, but I actually think they're good for you. Like if you like a massage,
it's self-care.
but what's
self-care?
What's wrong with self-indulgence?
I love it. I'm just saying, I think there is in your mind, there is a connotation that it's sort of
I'm more
an
aesthetic,
it's an indulgent thing.
But you probably would encourage your friends to take a day or take an hour. We're not even talking about go on a spa trip and abandon your family. We're talking about getting a manicure. Like you would encourage that for your friends if they were having a stressful day.
Go get your foot massage.
Yeah.
I have the best guy, Lee, at Nail and the OB right here. Actually, I should take that out so I can get an appointment. But anyway, you should go. And literally 40 minutes, you'll leave feeling like a better person. Because you just
try
No, I'm serious. You relax,
agree.
you bring your book.
It's okay to indulge.
Right. And that's not even indulging.
Right. I think that, well, you tell me, but I think that's a hard lesson for women.
I think so too. And I think I'm over that. Like, it's time that we take care of ourselves. And again, we're not talking about abandoning or disappointing or running away. It's like, no, I would like to do this thing for 20 minutes or more. And you should be able to do that.
It's not wasteful at all. Like it actually, if it makes you feel better, reflexology actually helps your entire body. Your entire body, the points on your feet are connected to everything in your body.
I don't need to be sold for a foot massage. It sounds great. I think it's all about time.
You have to make the time.
Yeah. All right. I love this.
And maybe today you're going.
Right. Start with 20 minutes even. You could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You could take Bunny.
At the end of the day, I do believe people do what they want. And so if you want it to happen, you will make it happen.
I know, but you also have to let go of that voice that says you should be doing all these other things instead of that.
Right.
Which I know is what you
We
say.
all have a lot of things we have to do. And I don't think yes.
But add it to your list of like, oh, actually, what I have to do is like,
it's okay.
I have to take care of Eva. Did I work out today? No. Okay. You know, maybe I have time for 20 minutes to get a foot massage.
I do want to share because I read this morning. There is a Substack. It's called Oldster Magazine that I subscribe to, and they share essays from people of all different stages of life. So the headline is Oldster Magazine explores what it means to travel through time in a human body at every phase of life. Anyway, so similar to what we were saying at the beginning of this podcast, how this was meant to be, today was written by a woman named Lisa Renee, and it was Don't Count Us Out on Women, Aging, and Creativity. So I thought, oh my God, how appropriate. So I was reading it, and one thing I thought was super interesting is in the US, there are more than 60 million women over the age of 45. And like, we're doing everything. Like, it's crazy, running for office, being doctors, lawyers, judges, building, designing, painting. And it also says, there's a great quote by Betty Friedan, aging is not lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength. And I have to say, for everything we've been talking about, being 51 and having friends in, their 50s and even early 60s, I think that I can say without, many exceptions that like we all feel like we're our best selves now. Like as you age, you really start to recognize like how precious and fragile life is. And you start to become aware of time
with yourself too.
And as a result, you become much more sort of honest and open about like who you are, what makes you happy, like what kind of people you want to surround yourself with, how you want to spend your time. And I think, being comfortable in your own skin. And so like we're talking about all of this, menopause, perimenopause. And there's a lot, it's a drag
you just have to add more to your cocktail, but it doesn't mean it could be, but you can be a lot better.
Right. So maybe it's like, read this book, be prepared for what's to come. Thank you, Lauren.
Be aware.
Because I did not read the book and was not prepared and just sort of muddled through it, which was fine. And like I got to the same place.
You didn't have
it just
her book
took
then.
a lot longer. Exactly. But I just want to like end by saying I would never trade where I'm at today for where I was in my 20s or even.
Agreed. And I disagree. My husband would always joke and be like, women are like, milk that goes and men are wine, I'm like, no, we're fucking not. And if we're milk, I'm almond milk that lasts like for fucking 5 years.
Who knew we would talk about milk so much?
Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. I did not even.
You just said you're almond milk. So maybe it was going home. Maybe it was going home.
Yes.
The almond milk in the vagina was going home.
I'm pretty good at full circling. And that was a nice, I'm glad you caught that one. But we are freaking whiskey or wine, whatever is the longest to age. But we are that.
I don't know.
We're better. We're so much fun. I'm more fun now than I was in my 20s.
Yes. I totally agree.
At least in my head.
No, and in life, it's because you're more confident. You don't sweat the small stuff in different ways. You recognize who brings you joy, what bullshit you want to cut out of your life. And
I say no to almost everything.
No, right?
Yeah.
And I think I certainly do. I appreciate life. Like we've seen a lot. We've seen tragedies in the world, in our lives, people with health scares. And so it's just important to be here and appreciate what we have.
I agree. And as your bracelet says, take a pause.
Take a pause.
And this was so much fun. We are so happy to have you on here. And we will post the link to your amazing book in our show notes. And this was so great. And by the way, you guys who are aging, we're all aging. You're only a few years old. No, I'm saying everybody's aging. First of all, we're all aging. It's better than the alternative. Yes. And like there was a comedian who always said, like, first of all, you're always aging. Like when you ever like look at me in this picture when I was younger, you're always fucking younger in the picture.
Well, not to digress, but like you're always aging, except if you're
dead,
like botoxing like crazy and getting faceless, and then it's really weird where people start to look younger than people older than them.
Well, whatever. I'm so for that. I'm for looking.
I think
hot.
Everyone should do whatever they want.
I agree.
I agree. To each their own.
To each their own. Hormone
like,
therapy, Botox.
You watch TV now, and like nobody gets old. It's a very strange experience.
Well, if you do get old, they're like, oh my God. Like Sarah Jessica Parker, dye your hair. But they should just focus on her show sucking now.
I didn't even watch because
it's so bad.
I didn't want it to change.
It will. It's horrible. So who cares about her gray hair? Focus on the fucking show is bad. Anyway, this was amazing. Thank you so much,
Lauren.
And to aging gracefully and with a lot more purpose and presence
and laughs
and
knowledge
and laughs
and
like
laughs.
That.
Humor gets.
And if you need
everything.
therapy. Someone's good over here.
Yeah, we'll put her creds in the show notes as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, mic drop.